All right, so now we will write some code and see the CSS grid in action. So I have an empty HTML file and the empty CSS file as well. So what I'll do, I'll just link the CSS here. Okay, so link and dot slash styles.css, that is good. So here after this h1, what I'll do, I'll add a container. Okay, inside of the container I will add some boxes. So box, okay, and times 8. Okay, so I have 8 boxes. So that will be the first one, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. Okay, so now let's go to the browser and see. So this is what it looks, nothing fancy. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll go here and for all of the elements here, I'll do margin. Okay, let me just turn off the caps lock. So margin to 0, padding to 0, and box sizing to border box. And I'll add a font family as well. So font family, and I will use this one. Let me just use that. Okay, so Sigu UI, Tahoma, and so on and so forth. All right, so for the container, I'll add a border. Okay, border of 5 pixels, solid and black. Okay, hit save. As you can see, that happens. All right, so I will add a height and the width as well. Height of something like 800 pixels, width of something like 800 pixels. Okay, all right, okay. Now what I'll do, we have the h1 as well, right? So for the h1, I'll add the text align to center. So h1 align to center, and for this one I'll add a margin top and bottom up to rim, left and right of auto, so that our box is now at the center. Okay, awesome. So we have our box at the center. Okay, and then I'll just decrease this one to 1 rem. Okay, all right. Now what I'll do, I'll go to here and I will add some of the unique classes to all of the boxes. So 1, then 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, so we have all of these class names now. So what I'll do, I'll go to the styles.css and I will add a different background color for each of them. So background color of something like, what do we say? Something like blue violet. And also for all of the boxes as well, for box, I will add a color of white. Okay, so for the 1 we have this, then 2 we have the background color of red, then let's do 3. Okay, so we have the background color of something like blue, then 4 we have the background color of, let's see, something like a deep color. something like brown. 5. We have the background color of purple. 6. We have the background color of, let's see what we can do. Something like this one, cornflower blue. Okay. Then for 7, we have the background color of okay, so we can do something like dark green. Okay. And for 8, we have the background color of, let's see, dark cyan can be one, dark magenta. So let's go with this one, dark slate blue. All right, so if I just save all of that right now, so this happens, right? And also what I'll do for the container, I will add a little bit of the padding here, padding of 1 rem. Okay, if I just save that, so we have all of this. Okay, all right. Okay, so with the padding it doesn't look that much good, so I will just remove the padding for now. So we will have this one. Okay, all right, so this is how our starter code will look. Okay, now let's go to the container. Okay, and now let's turn the container a grid container. So for the flex container, what we did display, and we can do something like flex. Okay, if I save that, so this is what happens. Okay, but we don't want to use the flex, we want to use the grid. All right, if I do that, now something different happens, right? So all of the elements are stretching across, which is expected because all of them are div, but all of them are changing their size so that they can fit properly inside of the container. Okay, all right, so this is how we can turn our container a grid container. And now we have the grid, and also we have the inline grid. Okay, inline grid. If I do that, then this happens. So what exactly happened? So to demonstrate that, what I'll do, I'll just get rid of that, and I will go here and I'll create the anchor element because this is an inline element. So I will just do something like this, and here I'll say like click me, and do Control C, and another one here, Control V. So we have 2 anchor elements, right? And these are inline elements. So currently, as you can see, our container is a div, and that is why it is a block level element, and that is why we have this one, this particular anchor element here, and this anchor element here. Okay, but now if I just set the display to inline grid, now if I go to the browser, this happens. So as you can see, our container becomes an inline element, and that is why these inline, like these links, which are the inline elements, are at the same line as our container, right? But as you can see, the grid works perfectly, right? The grid works perfectly. Okay, so if we want to make our container an inline element, but we still want to use the grid, then we can use the inline grid display property. But in our case, we will use the normal grid. Okay, so this will be a block level element. Our container will become a block level element, and I'll just get rid of that because this is the normal behavior for a div, right? Divs are block level elements. All right, so this is what happens. Now what I'll do, I'll open the DevTools and go to here, and we have the styles computer tab, and we have the layout tab. And here, as you can see, if I just zoom out a little bit, we have the grid overlays. And if I just click on this one, so as you can see, this is the overlay which it is showing, and there are a bunch of numbers and so on and so forth, which we will definitely discuss in the upcoming videos. Okay. All right. So this is how we can use the div tools as well to see if something is using the grid or not. And that is how I know for a fact like the Unsplash website is using the grid. Okay. So you can use that to just inspect many of the websites which you like and see how they are using grid or flexbox. So I'll just uncheck that for now. Okay. So as you can see, there we go. So now we will see a little bit of the grid properties. First of all, what we can do something like grid template columns. Okay. And here what we can add, here we can add something like 50%. Okay. And then 50%. If I do that, then we will have a 2-column layout, which is awesome, right? We have a 2-column layout. But here, instead of using the 50% and 50%, what we can do, we can use one other value, which is the fraction value. So what I can do, I can say like, hey, 1FR, then 1FR. So what exactly is a fraction value? It is the proportion in which we want to distribute our elements. So if I do that, then as you can see, we have the same results. So what it is saying divide the grid into 2 columns and each of the columns should be one fraction. Okay. So each of the columns should be one fraction. We can do something like 1FR once again. So here we are dividing the grid by 3 columns and each of the columns should take one fraction. So if I do that, as you can see, this happens and we have 3 columns now. We can do something like 4 or not 4 but 1FR once again, so that we have 4 columns. Okay. All right. Or we can do something like 2FR and 1FR. So what we are saying like, hey, divide the grid into 3 columns and the first column should take the 2 fractional part and the second column should take the 1 fractional part. If I just do that, now as you can see, we have this sort of a grid. So the first column is taking twice as much as space as the second column. Okay, I hope that makes sense. But now if I just comment out the grid, as you can see, everything will be normal. So we only can use these properties, these grid related properties, when we have the display set to grid or inline grid. Okay. All right. So this is how the grid works.